All right, good evening. Welcome, everyone. So this is a meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School Committee. Today is Thursday, November 14th, 2024. It is... Yeah, I know. Those teacher classroom management. So I'm going to call the school committee's meeting to order. It is 6:07.
So before we get started, we're going to call the meeting to order. There is no amplification. So we need to speak with our loud voices. In the microphone, this is for viewers at home and for the recording. So when we're speaking, you'll see us speak into the microphones, but it's for the recording. When we get to the public comment section later in the agenda, we'll have a microphone for questions. Again, it's not for amplification, it's for the people at home to hear the recording. So just be mindful of that with any side conversations that we might be having, that it's going to be really important that we project our voices tonight.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead right now.
You got your teacher voice on.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm the quiet nurse now. So, all right, well, thank you. So I'm going to call the school committee meeting to order. It is 6:04. I'm going to invite the other bodies to call their meetings to order. So the Bernardston Select Board.
Bernardston Select Board called to order.
Thank you. And Leiden Select Board? We don't have a quorum. Okay. Northfield Select Board? No quorum.
I think the only one with the quorum has already called.
All right. And so the FinComs do not have a quorum. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments to begin with? So we will have a time for public comment later on. We're going to do the presentation for the district agreement from our member of the district agreement subcommittee, who's done the subcommittee has done a tremendous amount of work on this. So we're going to summarize, and then we will take public comments and feedback, and then that'll be that. So you want to take it away?
Take it away. Mm-hmm. So sitting and presenting is not one of my strong suits, so I'm going to be kind of moving around. I also have the screen in front of me that's not connected up here, so we will be able to kind of manipulate it as we go forward. So just to start off, what are our goals? So our goals tonight is that we all have a shared understanding of what the district agreement is and how it may be amended. What the district agreement is and how it may be amended. Initial feedback to the proposed draft revisions. Implications of two proposed timelines for the amendment. We have a couple of different proposed timelines that we'd like to suggest. And then next steps in the amendment process. What does that process look like? So here's the agenda for the presentation. The definition of a district agreement. History of the work to date. Process for the amendment. Overview of proposed changes. We'll share and discuss feedback. That will be the open session. We will solicit questions, comments at that point. And then what's the next steps and potential timelines. So for those of you in the room, what is a district agreement? Before I was a school committee member, before I was even on the subcommittee for a district agreement, I didn't even know what this was. And it's a legally binding document that binds Bernardston-Northfield and Leiden together into the Pioneer Valley Regional District. The draft and the revised agreement amends the 1991 agreement in its entirety. So we recognize that circumstances often change over time, and recognizing that state and federal laws and regulations also change, and intending that the agreement should continue to serve the best interests of the member towns, the school committee is sharing a draft revised district agreement with the community for their review. So upon entering tonight, there was some handouts outside the room. Please take a moment, if you haven't already, to go grab them. We will be referring to these documents throughout the night. So the green handout that you have is the 1991 district agreement. This is how we're operating right now. This is how our districts figure out assessments. This is how our districts operate right now. The white paper is the 91 district agreement with its proposed 2024 edits. So it's all marked up. It's got deletions, red lines, edits. The yellow packet is the 2024 draft district agreement in its clean version that we have already sent out to the towns for review. It is the most up-to-date. Here's a little sample of the many, many versions that we have gone through that we have sent to DESE, and DESE has kicked back. And we've sent to DESE, and DESE has sent back. So we have lost count of how many versions of that. But right now in front of you is what DESE has pretty much given their stamp on for a lot of good work. So here's a little timeline for us. So in 91, the district agreement was approved by member towns and DESE. In 1999, there was an amendment that was drafted by the towns, but it was never approved by DESE. In 2017, the Hart Committee draft revisions began. They sent to DESE for review. DESE provided feedback, and the process stalled. Now, at that point, I wasn't on the committee members, there was a stall. I'm going to hold questions till the end, and we can go forward that.
This timeline is incorrect.
So,
The last
yep.
work done
Sure.
was
There,
2017 and 2020.
oh, there was tons. So there was
Not
tons.
your timeline.
Can you
Well,
please
So
hold the comments,
there is,
please.
so from 2017, which I hadn't said, the Hart Committee lasted for a couple of years. And they came together, put a lot of revisions and a lot of work into that document. That document was then sent to DESE. DESE provided some changes to it, and the school committee picked it up in 2022. There was a lapse of time. So I was started on the school committee in 2022 when we got back together as a subcommittee. We met 3-4 times, I believe I counted. We have over 24 meetings that we've met, over 70 hours that we've met for the district agreement. So in 2022, we met 3 or 4 times and started working on it. At that same time is when Warwick decided that they were going to withdraw from the district. At that point, it didn't make sense. We made a decision as a subcommittee to pause the work and have the school committee really dive deep and focus on the withdrawal of Warwick. So we paused. The school committee made a conscious choice to pause. We picked it back up in 2023 after Warwick had withdrawn. We could then go through and really start looking at all of the changes that not only did we need to retract Warwick from, but also to look at what is the implications of assessment and costs and things like that. So that was 2022. School committee begins review of the Hart Committee draft, works with DESE. And then 2023, school committee voted, we just voted at our last meeting, to send the draft of the revised district agreement to the towns for review. Okay, so what are some proposed changes and what are our guiding principles? So why are we doing this work? Well, other than laws and regulations changing significantly since 1991, we also are looking for equity amongst the towns. Okay, so here are some proposed changes. School committee members. in our 1991 current version, and I'm just going to use the term current versus draft. So I'm not constantly saying what years, okay? So our current version, there's no term limits, and vacancies are appointed by a town moderator, and that's how we appoint new members. Taken from the Heart Committee, much of the work that was done around this in the draft was to add term limits for school committee members, and that select board and school committee members of the member towns appoint new members, the new member. So that work, I can tell you, has taken right from the Heart Committee's work.
And I'm just
Yep.
going to jump in here to just also to add, these are not all of the changes. This is an overview of some of the changes. This is not comprehensive. We'll go through section by section later on.
Thank you. Capital costs. In the current version, PVRS capital costs are spread across the towns. BES and NES towns vote separately on capital costs and manage capital projects. There's no mechanism for a town without an elementary school to pay proportionate share of capital projects. So if we look at the instance with Leiden having their building closed, there is nothing in our agreement that says how does Leiden pay a proportionate amount into Bernardston Elementary School where their children attend school, as an example. In the draft, all capital projects included in the annual town assessments, and then the mechanism for Leiden to contribute for BES capital costs. Incurring debt, current version, there's very minimal language. In the new draft, there's a brand new section. Okay, enrollment calculation. This is a big change, okay? And what I'm going to try to do is make it as clear for you as it is to me. So, right now, in our current version, Pioneer has a unique formula that is just for Pioneer. It's just for PVRSD. There's other regional agreements out there that have a formula. Many of them have left that formula and have gone to a foundation. But what our formula does is it counts only resident students enrolled at PVRSD. Towns do not pay a proportionate share for resident students enrolled in other districts via school choice or charter schools. And I have a couple slides after this to highlight what we're talking about. In the proposed draft, what we're looking at is to think about what would our calculations look like if we based our formula on DESE's foundation enrollment. This is a statewide enrollment calculation that is used by many districts. It counts all resident students, including those enrolled in other districts via school choice and in charter schools. So there's a big change from us kind of creating our own recipe or going with a published recipe that many other districts also use. Okay, so that's kind of the big idea. To highlight some of that, so here are some current numbers. We've got a lot of numbers and information up there. And what I want you to just look at right now is that first section, the yellow. That is current, accurate, today, fiscal year 25 enrollment on a 5-year rolling average and what the town assessments are. So in Bernardston, we have 203.7 students. Town assessment was 40.89%. Leiden had 45.1 students. Their town assessment was 9.05%. Northfield had 249.4 students, 50.06%. If we changed to the foundation enrollment, that middle column is what fiscal year 25 could have looked like. So, in the 5-year rolling average, in Bernardston, we have 227.8 students. And we would have paid 39.78% in our assessments. Leiden, 57.6 students, paying 10.06%. Northfield has 287.2 students, paying 50.16%. So the actual versus the proposed assessments, that is the difference on how students are calculated based on our current enrollment assessments and the proposed. So if you go to the next slide, this is the last column, but enlarged for us to look at. So the current formula assessed Bernardston $3,212,147. The proposed foundation enrollment $3,169,916, which would have been a difference of $42,231 less. Leiden paid $890,361. Their assessment would have gone up to $928,787 with an increase of $38,426. Northfield is currently assessed at $4,713,157. The proposed foundation formula, $4,716,964 with an increase of $3,805. So how you get, whether you used the current or the proposed, you can see the differences there. Just a little look at enrollment. So in Bernardston, we have 10 students that choice out, 8 students that go to charter, 18 non-PVRSD enrolled, 198 PVRSD enrolled, total students 216. Proportion of the non-PVRSD enrolled, 8.33%. Leiden has 14 students that choice out, 2 students that go to charter, 16 non-Pioneer enrolled, 54 enrolled in Pioneer with a total of 70 students with a percentage of 22.86 students who are non-Pioneer enrolled. Northfield has 17 students of choice who choice out, 14 students go to charter, 31 non-Pioneer enrolled students, total non-PVRSD enrolled. Pioneer enrolled is 223 with a total of 254 with a 12.2%, 20% proportion of non-Pioneer enrolled.
And Melissa, to clarify,
Yes.
that excludes anybody that's going to private tuition-paid schools. It does not count those?
No,
Oh, yeah, we have to hold questions.
yeah.
We'll check.
Well, I'll get back to you on that. So in closing a school, another change that we went through, in our current version, it was silent. through experience and process. Our new draft, new section was added, and it describes the process and timeline for that to happen. Withdrawal of towns. Current has minimal language. Again, based on experience and process. In our new draft version, a new section was added. It includes the process and costs. Okay, so what is the process for an amendment? How do we come to a point where it's time to amend this agreement? We'll still have open session for all the questions, but just to kind of put us on the same plane, this is the process for amending this agreement. So both Massachusetts law and our existing district agreement have an impact on how revisions to the district agreement are approved. Revisions must be approved by both residents of our member towns by votes at town meetings and the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education. Per our current district agreement, there are two avenues for amending. One, petition by 10% of registered voters in any member town, or a majority vote of the school committee. After one of those two happens, then it goes on to the next process. If we take the school committee avenue, and the school committee chooses to vote to send this to the select boards, this is how it would work per our current district agreement. So this is taken right from that green packet. School committee sends the proposal for amendment to select boards. Select boards shall include proposal for amendment on the warrant of their next annual or special town meeting called for the purpose. Town residents vote on proposed amendment. If passed by majority vote in majority of towns, amendments are adopted once signed by the commissioner. Okay. So I just need to take a little breath because that was a lot for me. So for the discussion and feedback, I think it would be best if we kind of go through this section by section and ask to solicit any type of questions or comments as we go through. So we'll start with section 1 and kind of move forward through that.
I'm wondering if you could amend the process to, if anybody has any questions about what you just presented.
Yep.
Because I know each person
Yeah,
has
Ann?
a question, and I have one as well.
Yep. So do you know where those questions will align in the section throughout the district agreement?
My question is about enrollment.
Okay.
And choice.
Great. So when we get to the section on enrollments in this, then I will definitely call on you for that section. Okay, we won't forget. Okay, so section 1. We also solicited questions from the towns. So we do have some of them here, but there was none that was provided to us on section 1. So does anyone have any comments or questions on section 1? And just as a note too, as we go through, as a time check, it's 6:30. So we're thinking probably a 2-hour meeting is really where our brains start to shut off. So if we need to schedule another meeting, we'll make ample time towards the end to make sure we do that. But we're also planning on doing other additional forums. This isn't a one and done, okay? Section 2. So section 2 has to do with governance and the regional school district committee. Section 2, that's where we're at.
In our 3 town meeting discussions on elections, we had a lot of people who wanted to see the towns elect their own committee members. And I guess I won't identify who they were. And then we had a question about after 8 years on section B4, where you're talking about term limits and that how a vacancy can be filled. Then after 8 years, can an individual serve again? That's our question about that. Also, I'd like to point out that when you were doing your presentation, you said school committee members would be appointed by select boards and the current school committee members, and that applies to a vacancy occurring between elections. School committee members would still be elected.
Correct. Correct.
And your discussion did not point that out.
Correct.
It just
Thank
said
you.
everybody would
Yep.
be appointed that way.
Yep.
So I
Thank you.
wanted to correct that. That's
Okay,
all I
can-
have on section 2.
Okay, great. So for the first point, yes?
Election of school committee members?
Election of school committee, yep, we can throw that slide up. So for the election of school committee members, so by Massachusetts state law, in a regional district, they have to be elected by all towns. But by the
These are the
Sorry.
various options.
Sorry, these are, yes, sorry, thank you. This is taken right from the law. So, a regional, what?
I think we can read it.
Oh, great, go ahead.
Take your voice a little bit. We did discuss this in 3 town. I don't know how deeply we got into it, but we did have discussions about the various ways of doing this. There was also a general feeling that if we were adamant about this, we should take it up with Desi.
Yep. Hold on.
Jane, thank you. So I'd like to point out, this formatting is mine. This is the language of the law, verbatim, unless I made a little type. I formatted it so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were on separate lines, just for ease of reading. The one that's bolded, obviously, is the method that we use. Taking this up with Desi wouldn't get us, Jane, where you might want to go, because this is the law, it's not regulation. So if I may continue, please. This is what the law says, so the legislature would need to change it. The way I read this, it does not provide for election of school committee members only by the residents of the town in which they live, unless that is accompanied by a proportionate representation on the committee.
The other question that you brought up was the 8 years.
Yes.
So was that, we've actually asked Desi, we've reached out to Desi to ask them what their interpretation of the language is. That came from the Heart Committee. I don't know the intention necessarily. That was something that we, it's interesting. At this time, I think many of our boards can acknowledge it's hard to get volunteers to serve. And so maybe in 2017, 2018, when the Heart Committee was working on this, this was really important for term limits. Maybe it's not so important anymore. And that's something that we don't have to, we can come to an agreement on and not have term limits. This was something, again, that came provided to us, and I can't speak to the history of that. Michelle, do you? Michelle can? Okay. Michelle can.
The Heart Committee went over this many times, and we had people on previous the school committee for 30-plus years. And a lot wasn't changing because the agreement didn't get changed since 1991. So that was the thought of that.
Thank you. Okay. And I think the last thing was just a comment. I think there was the two questions. Yep.
Point of fact, Jane, I'm holding here one of the earliest versions, I'm holding here one of the earliest versions of the draft that this subcommittee worked on. We went to a format, we used this with the Warwick process, where on one side of the paper is an existing agreement or a draft of some sort, and on the other side is an updated draft. So there's a note up top that says March 11th, 2022. District Agreement Subcommittee has agreed to use this version of the draft as its working document. This is the Heart Committee draft. And I'm reading, no committee member shall serve more than 2 consecutive 4-year terms, et cetera. So this is the Heart Committee language.
Is that the one that Desi approved?
Desi did not approve it.
Desi
Yeah.
did approve one Heart Committee. The last Heart Committee one was
This document,
returned.
yeah.
I have a copy of it. Okay.
I would be happy, yep, and I'd be happy to share this. I thought we had shared this previously. I'll reshare it. When you
No, I'm
open up,
talking about-
I'm in the, Jane, I'm in a sentence. If we're going to engage, I would ask that we not interrupt each other. Thank you so much. This version of the Heart Committee document has many, many comments on the side from Desi that have not been responded to. There are also comments from members of the Heart Committee. It's a really interesting read, so I'll share that.
I have a copy that says, and I'm not going to my stack here, but it is the Heart Committee that was submitted to, the document that was submitted by the Heart Committee to Desi and returned from Desi.
And then it went to school committee and went nowhere. Is that,
No,
is that the next
it
step?
did go somewhere. There was a lot of work done by prior members of this school committee.
Yeah.
In committee on this document. And I think that it is really unfair to them that that work is not recognized in this timeline.
Okay.
And I think you need to correct that.
Okay. Okay, in the back?
They worked with towns.
No, you're all set. Okay. Okay. So, does anyone have any other questions for section 2? Okay. Yeah.
Let's say why I had my hand up. Basically, I was going to point out the same things that Jane did about the 3 towns meeting, but since I have the mic, I might as well say what I think. That I'm for term limits, so I think it would be fine for someone to come back on after a period off, but consolidation of power and opinion is very dangerous. It always has been.
Yeah.
And it continues to be. So it just does a, So if Desi comes back with an answer, that would be very useful.
Yeah.
And in the 6-town district agreement conversation, we went through all those 5 or things, Patricia, that you had in there, that you broke out in the law. And, having apportioned, we would have to decide, at least one for Leiden, because that's what we'd end up with, basically. And the other towns would have more.
Right.
But we would elect within our own town that person. And that's something we at the three-town meeting, talked a lot about.
Yeah.
And we really, you know, I don't know the other people. Unless people start campaigning for school committee, I'm never going to know who the other people are from the other towns. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So, yep.
Sure, Catherine DiMatteo. Thank you. DIMATTEO.
For those in the room that don't know, this is Ann Harding, who's our recording secretary. So she's writing to get the minutes for our meeting, just so people are aware of who she is. Yeah.
Brian Herview, Hervieux, Town of Bernardston Select Board. The only comment I had was about term limits.
Yeah.
I agree with the term limits.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be able to come back after a period off. It's 2 terms.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is just me, Melissa, speaking as a school committee member, not as a facilitator. I've gone back and forth with this myself because we've had vacant seats that we just cannot fill, right? And when I had started, I was a firm believer. When I got on school committee, it is term limits. It is there are people that you serve and then you're done and we need to get fresh blood. But I've also seen and experienced the opposite of it, happening. So however we come to an agreement kind of as a community, is how we'll kind of move forward once, we look at this. But yeah, I have the same questions. Also, when we're going to be looking for guidance, if we do the term limits, my question is, when do those come into effect? So the sitting members on the school committee, do their terms currently, are they grandfathered? Are they not? Do their term? So we're going to be looking for some legal guidance on that too, right? So if we've already served for a term, what does that do? So lots of questions still there. Anything else for section 2? Okay, section 3, questions. One of the questions that was brought up is it chapter 74 or chapter 71? This was a question. We have chapter 74 written in the draft. Sorry, this is section 3, section E. So page 3, about spot on halfway down the middle. So we will ask Desi to confirm, we've asked Desi to confirm this for the reference, for the citation they provided, yeah. Anything else for section 3? Section 4. This is the lease of member town schools. Okay.
I guess I got appointed to share everything that came out of the 3-town meeting.
Isn't that funny how that happens? I've been in your
Isn't it?
shoes before.
So section 3, F. The process of closing a town-owned school needs to be revisited. We need to consider including language to the cost of closing the school to the towns. Closing the town school should require a 2/3 majority vote by the residents of the town and not just the school committee.
I'm sorry, Jane, where are you reading from?
I'm reading the comments from the 3-town committee.
I know, but are we
Oh,
on?
it's you asked for section 3. I said this is F.
We don't have section. Wait, are we going back to section 3?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Section 4,
Section 4,
F.
F. So that is page 4. Process and timeline for closing a town-owned school.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Sorry, could you please reread?
The process of closing a town-owned school needs to be revisited. We need to consider including language to the cost of closing the school to the towns. Closing of town schools should require a 2/3 majority vote by the residents of the town and not just the school committee vote.
Those were comments of 3.
Yep, those are comments. Okay.
Some people look perplexed, like, where is she reading that from?
Yep.
Those were comments we had.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I have copies of this. I have 10 copies for anyone who wants to. Everybody on the 3-town committee already has that. It was emailed to them. I made 10 copies for other people who might be here.
Okay.
These are all,
definitely.
all of
Brendan
the,
first.
all of the highlighted comments. Actually, I think it's not highlighted. I think it's lighter type. Are comments that came out of our meetings. And this actual document would have been approved tonight. These comments would have been reviewed tonight by our group to make sure that we all agreed that they were correct.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Continuing in F. Number F2, or F1, small number 2. We took out the word savings. A physical analysis to determine the expected cost. That would be plus or minus, not just savings. Number 2, after completion of the feasibility study, the committee will hold a public forum with at least 30 days' notice rather than 2 weeks. Number 3, the first bullet, a 2/3 majority vote of the committee. We crossed out with at least one representative from each member town voting to support. And we added a number 5, and since everybody now has copies of these, I'm going to stop reading to you. Because I'm assuming that everyone in the room can read. If you want me to read it, raise your hand and I will, but otherwise, I don't. Oh. Okay. Number 5 is after a vote to close a school, the town where the school is located may vote at a regular or special town meeting by the next November 15th to continue to operate the school in question, with the requirement that the member town will pay to the district for all staff salary and benefit costs related to that school, and the committee will abide by that town meeting vote. That sum paid to the district will be used to reduce assessments for all member towns. Nothing shall prevent the committee from initiating another school closure process after a town meeting vote to keep a school open. Number 6, we added the line, the district shall remove any and all district-owned property from the school and deliver same in broom-clean condition. Number 7, line 2, replace 12 months with 3 years from the date the building reverts to the town or the building is repurposed. The full sentence for the benefit of those at home. The district will pay to the town in which a town-owned elementary school is being closed 50% of the cost of fuel and electricity. And this is a change for 3 years. The document says 12 months from the date the building reverts to the town, and then inserted additionally is, or the building is repurposed. The exact amount shall be determined by using the fuel and electricity costs from the preceding 3 years rather than 12 months.
So as I'm reading this, Jane, all of the lighter Are the
provided
changes.
Are requested changes.
Okay.
And it's all in section 4. I will say that there was a lot of discussion about the fact that this document is an agreement between the towns establishing the district. So it really is the town's document.
Where did the other mic go?
I got it right here.
Oh, you have it. Oh, it was so, sorry. Sorry.
I was,
Couldn't even see it.
I'm hiding.
I just wanted to make sure people could hear.
So, should I give this back? Somebody else might get it.
Okay. Okay, so that was section 4. Section 5.
Yeah, somebody else wants to decide.
In section 5, under the budget, B1, we've added some language. The first sentence is fine, and then the second sentence reads, after deducting the amount of state aid and general fund revenue the district is expected to receive, and here's our added language, and other general revenue as to include, but not limited to, tuition, charter reimbursement, retirement, bonds, earning on investment, etc. So that we feel it's really important that all the revenue is included, not just the state aid and general fund revenue. So that's why we've added that section in there. B3, there's a grammatical change, but I won't go into that. We are asking you to consider the date, to change the dates to move them earlier, so that instead of March 31st, it would be February 28th. And then so that there would be more time in the towns to plan our meetings and to prepare for it. And then in the sentence that says the treasurer of the district shall certify the assessments and transmit the budget and assessments to, we've added select boards, treasurers, and finance committees of each town, and then within 30 days after the committee's adoption of the budget. And in any event, no later than, and here we've asked again for it to be March 31st, not April 30th. And I think in yours, the newest version might have different dates, but we're looking to have it come earlier to us. In number 4, the change we're asking for there is that the budget must be approved by 2/3 of vote of the full committee, which you've gotten there, but must be approved at member town meetings by a simple majority vote of all the member towns, not 2/3. Now that we're only 3 towns, 2/3 really puts one town at a disadvantage. So that's our request there. And under C, annual report to the towns, we've added the committee shall honor before February 15th each year, submit an annual report for the district's prior fiscal year. That's the request, is that it be for the district's prior fiscal year. And that's all the changes that we've asking you to consider in section 5.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Point of law? Yeah, you can point of law. Here, you can grab it. Here, right there, sorry.
Okay, looking at just that one point about a vote on the annual budget, we brought this to DESE, and they pointed us to the law that says in regional school district, the budget shall be approved by at least 2/3. They were very clear. We had a call with them in which they said we could not exceed that threshold and require that the district agreement may not require that the threshold be that all member towns approve the budget.
Well, thank you for that.
And we'll provide the citation in a follow-up.
Yeah.
Mass General Law, Chapter 71,
There you go.
Section 16B, fifth paragraph.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
May I
Thank you.
add a comment? You know I can't be quiet. Regarding the change of the dates, those are all so that we can meet our budgetary requirements and our printing requirements for annual reports. It is required by state law that we include your annual report in our annual report.
Yep.
There is a timeline involved in that. And so we need to have that report by February 15th in order for us to get it together and submit it to our printer in time to get it back for our annual meeting. Same way with the stuff on the budget. We need,
That's
we
helpful.
need to know what you're going to want from us if we can afford it, along with everything else we have to pay.
Yep, that's helpful.
So I just want you to know why we moved that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That was section 5. So section 6. I see a lot of light colored font. So I don't know whether we want to read this all out in its entirety. How we,
Maybe,
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe if we go through the comments for each paragraph.
So some of these comments, what it looked like is that they were reverting back to a previous draft from April that was sent out to the towns, and then we sent the new version and so forth. The reason why you have the most up-to-date is because DESI did not approve. DESI did not agree with what we had in the April, I believe it was April, the April one that we sent them. So we were actually, when we got that back, their review with all of their comments, with apportionment and capital costs, we thought we were actually a lot closer to being done at that point. And DESI came back and just went through and just redlined and commented on many of the things. So just to give you a little background for that, so many of the comments here where it talks about maybe going back to previous versions, that was not passing DESI's muster.
What was that, their recommendation or the law?
Great.
Recommend a lot of things. If it's not
Yes.
the law, doesn't mean anything.
Correct. We would, I don't know off the top of my head, Brian.
So our reality is, DESI has to approve the district agreement.
We put Jesse around the form, right?
Right.
Got it. And they have actually been collaborative partners with us. They've dedicated a lot of time in supporting this process in many iterations. And you all, many of you know Christine Lynch, who's one of the senior folks in the regional district department at DESI, has been engaged with our district since 1991. I've said on a few occasions, I found a letter from Christine to the district, I don't know, spring 1991, so they know us. I agree, Brian. I'm happy to, question DESI on things, but I just want to remind everybody, in the end, if DESI doesn't approve it, we don't have an updated district agreement.
If the town don't approve it, we don't have it either.
Right.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right.
So-
So we have to collaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just also wanted to give you a little background of why there was such hold on one second, Jane. Raina, we had a question about enrollment. We had so I know we're getting a little off track. We'll get to the enrollment, but I do just want to look at the numbers in that question because it is within this section. Anne had a quick question with the numbers for enrollment about whether it included.
I was just looking for clarification that the students in the count did not include students who were enrolled in private schools that were non-public private schools.
I got it.
I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. I'm going to go quick here over to the, I've got an open tab here. And for folks at home, folks at home can see this, right, Tyler?
Yeah, he's mimicking. No, he
No.
can't mimic that.
Okay. So for folks at home, what I'm doing is I'm clicking onto the Pioneer Valley District website. If you get to the home page and go to the far right on the menu and hover above School Committee, there's a drop-down menu that includes District Agreement Subcommittee. Go ahead and click on that. And we've updated the page so it provides direct links to, I think, all of the documents, or most of the documents being used tonight. In addition, we've linked to a number of DESE resources. So we know that the towns had some questions in your minutes about how foundation enrollment is calculated, who's involved in that. So here's a few documents. This is a DESE guidance doc. I made it into my own Google Doc so that it was just easy to link to. So this is straight from DESE. Which kids do they include? Which kids are not included? So this is DESE's information about which students are counted in their foundation enrollment. So that's there. There's another.
Say anything about what she's talking about?
Yeah, it does. So foundation enrollment are the kids for whom a district is financially responsible. So when a family makes the choice to send a student to a private school, we're not responsible for that. So we don't count that student. If a family chooses to school choice their child out to Greenfield, the district is responsible for that. So that's counted in foundation enrollment. Kids who are homeschooled, there's no cost, that's not, but they're not counted. Kids who are in out-of-district placement, they count. Kids who go to charter schools, they count. It's pre-K through 12 with a caveat about pre-K. And this is all in this guidance document from DESE. The pre-K kids who count in foundation enrollment, and Jordan, correct me if I massacre this, are pre-K students with IEPs who receive at least 2 hours a week of services, and they count in for like a partial amount. It's not a one-to-one count in the foundation enrollment. So that's on this page. Also on this page, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do the set of links, but DESE, with the information we send them, they create the foundation enrollment numbers. Anybody in our towns and town officials can go to this link right here, the Chapter 70 page. If you go down here to Chapter 70 State Aid, and I guess I'll do it, State Aid and Spend, you could click on one of these years. Here's FY25, FY24, FY23. It opens up an Excel workbook. You have to enable macros, and it lists, there are a bunch of tabs. It lists, there's a tab that on which you can look up every one of our towns. And it tells you the foundation enrollment for the town. It tells you the foundation money for the town. So all of the information is here. It would mean that the district is not generating the enrollment numbers, which I think we do a nice job. And I really want to thank Jane and Diana Noble from Warwick, because when I came in, it was clear we needed to do some work on making sure that our enrollment numbers were crisp and accurate for the purposes of town assessments, and I think we did improve. But doing those numbers ourselves exposes the district to possible points of human error. If we go with foundation, it's the state's numbers that they get from us.
That they get from you, so there's still a possibility of error.
Much reduced. much reduced. So, again, if folks go to the district website, go to school committee, click on district agreement, all of these documents are there. And we'll put tonight's slides up there. I'll do that tonight or tomorrow morning.
You want to do the question in the back about? It's on our handout. Yes, your question has to do with our handout.
This is Pam Brown from Leiden. So I have a question of where are the children who enrolled in the, the tech schools?
Oh, great question. That's a great question.
Hold on. Hold on.
Thank you. We need to make sure, we should add that to the slides, I think. That's a separate assessment that goes to the towns. Pioneer is not fiscally responsible for those students. The towns are responsible for those students, and they manage that responsibility by paying their assessment that they get from Franklin Tech.
Right. Okay, thank you.
That's a good question.
And so those people are not included in the foundation enrollment?
Correct. No.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. Oh, Brian in the back.
So in this section, I know we had a lot of discussion about capital costs, and we wanted to see a dollar amount in there.
Right.
I think in our comments, we put 20,000. I don't think anybody was glued to that amount, but it was an amount to put in there.
Yep.
And we just wanted to see a dollar amount in there.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep, I remember that. I remember that.
I just wanted to make a comment, and it's about the current versus the proposed formula. I don't know if this is the right time to say it, but since we were just talking about it, I don't know why Leiden, the difference in our enrollment changes so dramatically, 22%.
Yeah.
But we should consider that it's probably, or possibly, because we don't have an elementary school any longer. And those students may not have chosen to come over to Bernardston. I don't know that for a
Yep.
fact. So the formula may work for all the other towns in Massachusetts, and I don't know how many of them don't have schools, or for an elementary school, for instance,
Right.
or for how long they might not have had an elementary school.
Right.
But for us, that's a dramatic change, dramatic percent, 22%.
It is, and if you look historically, Leiden has the highest percentage of students that do choice out. We didn't break it down by grade. I would be interested to know also, like, kind of to answer your question too. Are these kids elementary kids that are choicing out, or are they not? But we can.
We'll look to see if we can get, what would satisfy you, and I mean that really friendly, but, like, going back to, would another 5 years help? Because that would predate the closure for a real.
When was the closure?
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll try.
to see several years prior to, like, if you can get 5 years prior to the closure,
Okay.
I'm curious. Yeah, that
Mhm.
would be great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the offer.
Jane, I'm talking like it has a. Jane had her hand up.
I didn't hear what she said, probably a good thing. I had to see a discrepancy in your papers, so I have a question about enrollment. On page 3 here, in this comparison of 25 enrollments and town assessments, little document, for FY '25, it says there's a total of 545 foundation enrollment students.
Oh, to the back to that one, sorry, Jane, are you talking
One-
this one?
Yep.
Okay.
See the 545? Top section, the total?
Yep.
Okay, go to the next page.
This is a separate slide. Can you show me which, that one? Okay. Is that this one?
Yes.
Yep.
Look at the total enrollment there. You lost 5 students.
Oh, the 219, are you talking about the 219 and the 216?
I'm talking about the
540.
total. Total students enrolled on one page says 545, and on this page says 540.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't have time to,
We didn't, I guess I should get the microphone.
Here, hold on, I got you.
We didn't lose 5 students, so that comes to the point that Patricia pointed out about the pre-K students. So no students have been lost. It's just, I'd have to give you the specific numerical example, but no students have been lost. It's just that there are some students that are counted in the foundation enrollment that are in pre-K. So it's not that they've been lost, it's that they're counted in both places. So in our current formula, they're counted. And in the foundation enrollment, they are also counted because they're students who receive sufficient special education services. So there is that discrepancy in terms of you can't just straight add charter choice plus current enrollment to get to the foundation number, because there's also a third category in foundation enrollment that we're not showing. This was just one, this was the way to be the clearest to get at it and, not, I think partially, specifically identify students, because it's a small number of students, but that's the reason that there's a discrepancy. So no students have been lost. We know where they all are. They're doing great.
so my note on
there's a third
this page
category.
should be that
that there's also students.
there's another category that was not
Right.
included
This
in
is
the
for
total.
informational purposes only. It's not a perfectly accurate cataloging of every student, but what we are trying to show is that the largest factor contributing to the discrepancy between our current method and the foundation method is the students that go out via choice and charter. But there's a third category of students, which are those pre-K students who receive more than 2
I
hours.
guess when you have people like me around, you need to include that column.
I think so, Jane, so how about I add an asterisk down the bottom that says something like, the numbers above do not include pre-K students with disabilities who, something about partial count in foundation enrollment. Okay, we'll do that.
I mean, 5's not a big number, but on the other hand, it is
Well,
a number.
Right, and that wouldn't be the number that ultimately would determine the assessment percentage. The actual assessment percentage, once again,
No,
Patricia's.
but my problem is when I find one thing that is in disagreement, then I start looking for more things. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
But ultimately, the actual foundation enrollment would be, as Patricia pointed out, provided by DESE. So things like this, where it's not even a computational error, wouldn't exist, because it would just be the DESE number.
So to jump back into this section, apportionment of payments, costs, and incurred by the district, definition of capital costs, I see that the in excess of $10,000 has been added. Removal of extraordinary repairs. The note on B, more clarification is needed for the foundation. Do you feel like
I think we've probably got that answer tonight.
you got that? Okay. Okay. And then we talked about the foundation enrollment and the, Brian had brought up the district shall identify and recommend to the member towns capital projects in excess of 10,000. Separate articles in their annual town meeting. Was there anything else under that section, or any background that you wanted to provide?
I think this whole section,
Okay.
as we have already said. Maybe you should just get me my own mic.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think this whole section needs a real careful review and careful discussions. Obviously, from all of the, on my page it's red, on yours it's light gray. From all of those comments, there obviously is a lot of problem with this section as far as the 3 towns are concerned. I think there needs to be some collaborative meetings to reach agreement on this.
Yep.
And I don't know that there's much wiggle room from the 3 towns' perspective on a lot of this language. That's my interpretation of listening and being part of those discussions.
Yep.
Okay? So I would say, as far as tonight is concerned, I would categorize this as needs lots of work.
Yep.
And I would move on to the next section.
Yes, I agree with that. Does anyone disagree with Jane? They don't dare. No one dares. Okay. All right. Section 7.
What section are we in?
Section 7. Section, what? Oh. Where's section 8?
7, incurring debt. It's short.
Oh, God. Okay. All right.
It's short and sweet.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So changing from majority to 2/3. Vote is the suggestion. I don't speak on the behalf of the committee, but okay. Right, like it's something we'll discuss, yeah, yes, it will,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And so that, so we could, yes, so we can, that's something, yeah, that we could easily look up. And then what, I just have a question about what was the strikeout?
Which strikeout are you talking about?
Oh, okay, so,
Changing by majority vote to 2/3. The committee will use the process that appears in Mass General Law 7116.
16D was the start, getting rid of section 16D.
And I'm not sure, I think the 3 towns might want to discuss that further,
okay,
make sure that everybody understands 16D.
Yeah.
After this meeting, when we made this decision, I went back and read 16D and 16N, so I was going to bring it back up
Okay.
for discussion.
okay,
That's my personal thing I'm
Yep.
saying to you now.
Yep.
okay? I just want to be sure that everybody understands 16D the way they thought they did that.
yep, yep, that makes sense. Okay. Section 8. I see nothing.
I think that was from.
Does anyone? Oh,
Oh.
the to all,
In-
yeah, the to all, okay. Okay,
Oh, I missed that one, what was that?
so, sorry, C,
Section C. Section 8.
section 8C,
Of all member towns versus the member towns.
when a
That was
majority
just a typo.
Oh.
Yeah.
of the, they just changed it to all. 9, another change from minimum of 2/3 to unanimous vote. As long as that complies with the law and regulation. Ten, withdrawal of member towns. And 11. And what is the addition? I see the addition, but I'm asking for an explanation.
I think it's kind of obvious that we felt that that report should go back to the towns also.
Okay.
To study, so the sentence is saying that 11A, there's going to be a regional agreement review committee appointed to study the agreement and report to the committee. And our addition is, and to the member towns. Shall give such report due consideration as to whether or not changes to this agreement might be beneficial. The member towns are really the ones that sign this document and implement it. And so they need to be included in decisions.
Point of fact there, the towns don't sign the document. This document is signed by the school committee.
The school
towns-
committee can't invent itself. The school committee,
Jane, point of fact, the regional agreement is voted on by town residents. If the town residents approve the document, it goes to Jesse for approval. The signatories are the school committee and the commissioner. That's just a point of fact. I'm not going to argue it.
So section 11, is there any other?
regardless of who signs it, the towns should see the report.
Yep, I see the addition. Okay, so we did minus apportionment and where that will have a lot more conversation to work. So where do we go from here? Yeah, Jordan? Oh, Jordan wants to.
I just wanted to mention one thing about Section 6. I know there's a desire for extensive changes, and I understand the rationale. We've read the comments, I think, extensively because we know, how important it is to have feedback and be in a collaborative relationship. I think the important thing, from my perspective, when Section 6 was being considered, the things that kind of led to the metamorphosis from April to now were, one, DESI's extensive feedback that the form it was in wasn't workable for, to be approved. There was going to be a lot of changes that were necessary and not super clear if we were going to kind of write our own language and have a very unique apportionment of capital costs or operating costs. If we were going to do something very locally created, there was a lot of questions And we got to a point where DESI provided some sample language that this is the type of language we will approve. And our thought process, I think, was, well, in what would be, kind of a fair and good language. It wasn't, because I think sometimes when you see the language, it might be like, well, what was the thought process behind developing that language? And I think some of the thought process was language that is used in other places that's been manageable, and language that DESI would approve. And I think a third thing that was top of mind was an agreement that potentially would be fiscally responsible in our relationship with the towns. Because one thing that we were thinking about, for example, for the capital costs being assessed to towns is that, and I think I've mentioned this in the past, that then, we're providing one assessment that's all-encompassing. And so, for example, if there was some expensive capital costs, it might be the case that there would have to be consideration to some of the operating costs, so that it wouldn't be, for example, in a given year, operating costs are up, and hey, the towns need to figure out the capital costs. It might be the case that it would create pressure to become even more fiscally responsible. We weren't trying to create a document that was at all adversarial. We're trying to create a document that would, I think, in some ways, enhance our level of fiscal responsibility and pass muster at DESI. So that was, I think that might be important context to think about. And I think the other piece of it is, if there's going to be extensive revisions to Section 6, I think DESI's point was, well, it's a long road. There wasn't a clear pathway to having a bespoke Section 6 that DESI would also approve. So I just wanted to provide that in context, and obviously,
Michelle can
yeah.
provide context as the chair of the district agreement subcommittee.
Yeah, I'm not the final word, obviously. I'm just saying that was my involvement.
As far as that particular section?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, the process of working with DESI on it.
Well, I'm all for a collaborative environment, so I think we need to work on this together and together with DESI. I have looked at other district agreements also that say, very different things. So I think we still have some work to do together to come to an agreement before it gets to the towns.
Okay. Yep. Jane.
I'm sorry, I do this.
Jane.
I wanted to point out that the document that we gave you with our comments in is your copy dated October 17th. And we did that on the 24th, at which point you came out with another copy, which had only one section that was rephrased, but nothing else was changed. And the rephrasing did not change the intent of the article. So these comments are on your most recent document, unless you have one that is more current than the 24th.
Nope.
It was tough for us to try to keep up with you. It would have been nice if we had been included in all of these discussions over the many months, as we were in the period which you did not put in the timeline. Thank you.
So for next steps and kind of how we are going to be moving forward, town officials and residents continue to provide feedback at additional public forums. As we already mentioned, we're going to be scheduling another one. Hopefully, if some of us have our calendars, I'm ready to schedule that tonight if people have their calendars and are able to do that. School committee, again, this is a full school committee discussion of feedback, the additional feedback, the additional forums at our meetings in November and December. We then have to still take a final vote, which we haven't, to then send the final draft to the towns. So when school committee is satisfied with the final draft and we say, okay, this is what we want the towns to vote on, we need to take a vote on that. And then send the proposed amended district agreement to the select boards. Once the select boards receive that, they can either hold a special town meeting for a vote on the district agreement or include the proposed amendment in the warrant for their spring town meetings. Then citizens will vote on the proposed amendments at town meetings. And then if a majority of the town approves the amendments, school committee will then send it off to DESI for approval. So without further ado, is this something that we would want to look at scheduling? And I'm assuming are you talking about a 3-town and school committee, or the district agreement subcommittee, which we have no idea who's even on that subcommittee at this point, because we have to have a reorganizational meeting. We don't even have all of our members yet. So, I would assume this would have to be a special full school committee, or else you want to talk about some new blood entering this whole process. We don't know who's going to be on a district agreement subcommittee. And it may not be, it may be a full.
I hope that the powers that be, whoever they turn out to be, would keep the same district agreement
Yeah,
subcommittee, so
Yeah.
that you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
we'll see.
Two of the members from the district agreement subcommittee are no longer on the school committee. 2 of the 4 members.
2 of the 4.
So, I mean, that's.
So
the-
we're just,
But
we're,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, it
No, we're
is a full
just-
committee. It's in the full committee.
just part of
stance at
the,
this
just
point.
part of the
So-
process of the election and so forth. So if we get out, so we also purposely scheduled this meeting on a Thursday night because we know that it's usually a school committee Thursday, but no other towns have their select board meetings on Thursdays. So if we wanted to stay with Thursdays, as long as it doesn't conflict with the school committee meeting, we know that at least select boards, I don't know about FinComs or so forth, but I know our next school committee meeting, well, it's actually on a Wednesday, but are we looking to meet again?
Well, may I ask a question? Are we now at the point where we're going to work together on this?
Well, so that is what I'm proposing. What I'm proposing is our next,
It would have been nice if it was proposed
Pub-
a year ago.
Well, respectfully, the 3 towns have been meeting and never invited the school committee to your meetings.
Yeah, I
So-
Because
yeah.
the school committee
Yeah.
specifically excluded us from discussing this in your subcommittee.
yeah, and I would also just,
I don't want to go there.
yeah, it's not helpful, and all of our meetings were posted publicly also, so it is something that we have always, it wasn't in a malicious
was
or
not-
in, yeah.
Let's
Yep.
move forward.
Yep.
So-
Please.
So do we want to meet in December, or are we looking to meet again in 2 weeks? 2 weeks is Thanksgiving. I will not be meeting with you. December 5th? Is it,
Yeah, we have a conflict on the 5th.
okay?
I mean,
Nine,
School committee first and third, or is it second and third?
so it changes, but we have December 19th available.
Who goes to Christmas?
Okay,
I have a question.
Yeah.
regarding the next meeting.
yeah,
The changes we discussed.
Yep.
The comments we had on it, Is that provided, I'm sorry. I'll make sure the people at home can hear me.
Yeah.
The changes we discussed, the comments that we made, are they going to be reflected, provided it's approved by the state or DESI or what have you, that it's legal? Would they be in there? Is that something that, is the next meeting just going to be this exact same copy that we're looking at?
Great question.
To make the
Yeah.
exact same comments that we
Yeah.
just made tonight?
No, and again, I am just speaking, because I happen to have the microphone. I'm not speaking on behalf of the school committee. My interpretation was that the next meeting was to look at more specifically the apportionment of costs and capital costs, zone in on there. The other suggestions and things like that, we can bring back to the full school committee and talk about some of that and look at the district agreement in that way. But I don't think we need to necessarily hash out unless there's new people in the room that bring forward new questions. My intent is to spend more of a deep dive in the apportionment of costs and capital costs. Am I thinking, is anyone else thinking differently?
That sounds great to me.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
that's the section we glossed over a little, just the big sort of deep dive.
Right, right. I don't,
I
don't know.
Just to be realistic about how this honestly.
Can you give her
how
the?
this works. Sorry. So I'm going to speak for both of us, Jordan, and you can hit me, let me know. So this is a school committee process, just want to make clear. The role of admin is to be the worker bees behind the scene. Take the conversations at the meetings and update the drafts. The list of questions that the subcommittee has or the school committee has for DESI, we do the legwork of going to DESI. We do the research on the this, that, and the other. So we're the worker. I want to make really clear, we're the worker bees. We don't make any of the decisions about what goes into the draft. So realistically, what's going to happen is we are about to spend a gazillion hours. Jordan and I have already taken all of the comments from your minutes. So I want to make clear, we looked at everything. And we already started trying to figure out which laws pertain to which. There will be a ton of work on our end, as there should be, right? That's our role as administrators, is to be servant leaders. And school committee is our governing body. It is entirely likely that at the next school committee meeting, I don't know if we're going to get it done for then, but certainly by the next time this group convenes, there will be multiple comments from us as administrators or DESI in response to your comments, and I want to manage expectations. I don't think you should expect that your suggested edits would go through in whole cloth, because there are so many ramifications, and frankly, my guess is once we dive further into that page where you say, toss the whole thing out, redo this, probably a bunch of your ideas have been discussed 10 times, and DESI has said, yeah, no. So I just want to manage expectations. The subcommittee worked assiduously, carefully. So that's it. I want to manage expectations about what we would come back with.
And I didn't mean to insinuate that, oh, we want that done at the
No.
next meeting. That was not.
No. So does that mean, I would, again, this is just me, Melissa, I would hate to table this until the new year. I would really like not to do that.
What's wrong with December 5?
Patricia and I have a conflict that night.
It's the superintendent's award dinner. We meet with all the superintendents where the kids get the award at Franklin Tech.
Yep.
And we don't want to miss that.
You don't have to.
Yep.
Could one of the towns give up, are you meeting every Monday night, every Tuesday night, every Wednesday night? Is there one night, a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday where folks aren't meeting? Melissa, you want to throw out dates?
Yeah, so, well,
No,
yeah.
I can tell you that the three towns went through this to come up with a Thursday. I strongly recommend that you stick with a Thursday.
Okay, so I would say the 19th.
And the, other people can disagree.
The 12th, we have a school committee meeting. So, right, that's why I went to the 19th.
Well, if this is going to involve your whole school committee meeting,
But we can't devote our
We have
entire school
business
committee
to
meeting
do,
to this.
yeah.
We have to have a separate meeting. That's why I was suggesting the 19th. Does the 19th work for the majority? Yeah. We can bring you some Christmas cookies and make it feel like Christmas, Jane?
I was thinking in general.
Yeah. Yeah. 6 to 8, Melissa? 6 to 8? Here, yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. Does the Kiva work again? Was that, okay. So, December 19th, we can all post our agendas, but the agenda item will definitely be the section on apportionment and review and feedback. Okay. Any other final comments before we wrap it up?
So you'll post that as a school committee and a 3-town meeting?
I don't think we can't post for you. But we'll post as a school committee meeting, but the 3-town will have to post themselves. We can't post your meeting. Yeah.
I move the Vernon Select Board,
I move that the school committee adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.